Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. Four-time NBA champion, this is the story of Draymond Green with the Warriors. But the team needs upgrades, and to get great players, it will be necessary to trade Draymond Green. Will the Warriors executives trade Draymond Green? Draymond Green trade proposal could make Warriors fans sick to their stomachs. This would be a terrible ending. As the Golden State Warriors enter their off-season, it seems as though any move might be on the table to maximize the remainder of superstar Stephen Curry's career. However, a recent mock trade, cooked up by Jonah Kubicek of NBA Analysis, involves a swap of Warriors legend Draymond Green and New York Knicks All-Star center Karl-Anthony Towns, and this, predictably, could leave fans' heads spinning. While such a move might seem entirely out of the realm of possibility, often teams who have failed to meet expectations make desperate moves, and the Warriors and the Knicks could find an unlikely partnership through this trend. Karl-Anthony Towns' mock trade could leave fans sick. As Golden State looks to improve their roster in hopes of a deep playoff run, their biggest need lies in finding a center that can simultaneously space the floor and anchor the defense. While very few of these types of players exist in the NBA, Towns' offensive impact cannot be denied, and he could be an ideal fit for a Warriors team that desperately needs more offense. In the proposed trade, Golden State would add Towns to their roster in exchange of Green, Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, and a 2027 first-round pick. The Knicks, after being eliminated in 6 games against the Indiana Pacers and firing head coach Tom Thibodeau, now will likely need to make adjustments to their roster. While the additions of Towns and Mikal Bridges last offseason made the Knicks an instant contender in the Eastern Conference, the ensuing lack of defensive capability in their starting lineup and depth on their bench led to an early playoff demise. Therefore, the Knicks could certainly be looking to move on from Towns, who averaged 24.4 points, 12.8 rebounds, and 3.1 assists this season. However, in order to get the deal done financially, the Warriors would need to move on from the final 2 years of Green's 4-year, $100 million contract, cementing the end of another legend's time in the Bay. Through the trade, Golden State would receive the offensive star it needs to remove some of the burden off of Curry, and the Knicks, through Moody and Hield, would receive the shooting off the bench they would need to make a run at a championship. However, trading Green, especially for someone who he has publicly disagreed with on numerous occasions, would represent another betrayal by the organization towards one of their franchise legends, leaving such a trade almost impossible to bear. Draymond Green has honest admission on Warriors' playoff loss. Golden State Warriors duo Draymond Green and Stephen Curry have seen everything the NBA has to offer alongside one another. Both players helped lead the franchise, alongside Klay Thompson, to 4 NBA titles. Despite their older age, in NBA standards, they are both at the core of the Warriors' current squad. Behind Curry and Green, with the addition of Jimmy Butler, Golden State remains in a position to compete for another banner before a new era arrives in the Bay Area. Green, in particular, was a finalist to win the NBA Defensive Player of the Year, while also making the All-Defensive First Team. While Green might not be the same player he was nearly a decade ago, he remains highly productive for the Warriors. Some things never change, however. As the Steve Kerr-led squad saw a second-round exit to the Minnesota Timberwolves, Green still managed to receive 5 technicals in the span of 12 playoff games. Green would have gotten a 1-game suspension had he gotten 2 more technicals during the playoff run. During an appearance with Jimmy Kimmel, Green had words about his 5 technicals. "I went into the playoffs like, I'm not getting any techs. I had 5 in 3 games. You only get 7 for the playoffs. Thank God lost," Green claimed. While Green is being satirical, he isn't all that wrong. The Warriors forward, with 2 more series, would have likely served a 1-game suspension. The 4-time All-Star isn't actually happy that they lost in the playoffs, though. He's simply cracking a joke about his technicals. Evidently, Golden State will be in a similar position to compete in the playoffs next season behind the play of Green, Curry and Butler, though roster changes are needed. Draymond Green reveals how close Warriors came to KD reunion. On the night of February 1, Draymond Green was mentally preparing for a coronation. The Golden State Warriors were bringing the band back together. That's what he was told. That's what he believed. Green was at the Warriors' annual charity poker tournament, sharing a brief moment with team owner Joe Lacob. At that point, the talk around a possible reunion with Kevin Durant had started to feel real. Joe goes, "Draymond, I think we're gonna get Kevin Durant. It's right there at the finish line, it's happening," Green recalled, via Jimmy Kimmel Live. Cue the internal fireworks. It sounded a bit closer, like something might actually be in motion. A possible return. Maybe even Durant, the former Finals MVP, back where the banners hang. Green made his way back to the table. After all, it was poker night, and if he had any reaction, he likely kept it to himself. Then Stephen Curry shouted across the room. Steph yells, "Draymond, you see the trade?" I go, "It happened." Steph goes, "Wait, who?" I said, "Oh, never mind. Nobody." What happened? He's like, "Luka got traded." Luka, not KD, the trade that shocked the NBA. It wasn't Durant. It wasn't the reunion. The news that broke that night had nothing to do with Golden State. Instead, Luka Doncic, the 25-year-old face of the Dallas Mavericks, had just been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in a three-team shockwave involving Anthony Davis and the Utah Jazz. I couldn't believe it. I thought Shams was hacked, Green said, via Jimmy Kimmel Live. And just like that, Green's grin disappeared. A player who's seen it all was suddenly speechless. Superstars at 25 don't get traded. Luka's a megastar. I immediately wondered, I have to be next if Luka's being traded, he added, via Jimmy Kimmel Live. Warriors trade pivot, KD said no, Butler said yes. Before the Warriors locked in on Jimmy Butler, they were deep in talks with the Phoenix Suns about Durant. After all, it wasn't some nostalgic reunion tour, they wanted to win. Durant had helped them do that in 2017 and 2018, and naturally, they figured he could do it again. Durant turned down the opportunity, he didn't want to move and get traded mid-season, Green admitted, via Jimmy Kimmel Live. Instead, the Warriors brought in Butler. And he fit. They pushed into the postseason, looked like a real problem, until Curry's hamstring gave out. And with it, any shot of surviving the Minnesota Timberwolves. What Luka's trade means for the Warriors, and everyone else. This league doesn't blink anymore. These days, no player is sacred. No franchise centerpiece is immovable. If Luka Doncic can be traded, then truly, no one's safe. You just don't see that in the NBA, Green said. Luka just came off the NBA Finals, via Jimmy Kimmel Live. It wasn't Durant. It wasn't destiny. Still, it was the kind of night that reshapes the league. Draymond walked in thinking the past was returning. Instead, he walked out watching the future get flipped upside down. Warriors very likely to make head-scratching decision on Jonathan Kuminga. The Golden State Warriors enter the 2025 offseason with a clear need to improve their roster. Steve Kerr's team has solid depth, but lacks a legitimate big man and some additional ball handling off the bench. However, before Mike Dunleavy Jr. can begin upgrading the current rotation, he must deal with Jonathan Kuminga's impending free agency. Interestingly, recent reporting has hinted at Kuminga's potential exit from the Bay Area. After all, he's struggled to earn a sustainable spot in the rotation and has been overlooked in big games. Yet, according to Warriors insider Monty Poole, the franchise is now very likely to keep the former lottery pick beyond this summer. The scuttlebutt around the NBA is that the Warriors will very likely find a way to hang on to JK, Poole said. It doesn't mean he's going to be a long-term answer. They can just move him later. Keeping Kuminga would be a head-scratcher for the Warriors. Steve Kerr recently admitted that he struggled to find a role for the explosive forward in his rotation. I've been asked to win, Kerr said in a recent episode of the TK Show podcast. Right now, he's not a guy who I can say that I'm going to play 38 minutes with the roster that we have, doesn't mean he's not a really good player. Doesn't mean he's not talented. It just means the fit. And with the roster that we have, it's tricky. If Kuminga doesn't have a defined role with the Warriors next season, keeping him around is borderline malpractice. Golden State needs upgrades at other spots on the floor. Just as importantly, Kuminga needs minutes to develop his game. The Warriors risk a player's future over their inability to pick a lane. Other young stars will take note of Kuminga's plight, which could hurt the franchise when looking for cost-controlled undrafted talent in future years. The Warriors should listen if other teams around the league produce viable sign-and-trade offers for Kuminga. The goal is to win a championship. Spending money on a player Kerr doesn't fully trust is nonsensical, especially as re-signing Kuminga could limit the team's flexibility in the free agent and trade market this summer. The Warriors need to have a plan and execute it. Right now, it feels like they're still trying to figure out the best path forward. And for a team with dreams of contending next season, that doesn't bode well. Nick Batum's frank Warriors realization proves missed free agency opportunity. He should have been a Warrior. The Golden State Warriors completely changed the complexion of the NBA over a decade ago, ushering in a new era of basketball with their small ball style and the shooting of Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. The small ball style has led to the death of a number of slow-footed big men in the league, but it's also extended the life of wings and forwards whose versatile shooting and defense has become even more valuable. The Warriors have missed a Nick Batum free agency opportunity. One of those is LA Clippers veteran Nick Batum, with the 36-year-old realizing how the Warriors have helped extend his career during a recent episode of The Young Man and the Three podcast. The small ball lineup changed everything, Batum said. That's the thing. A guy like me, the Warriors gave me 5 more years in the NBA. When the Warriors did that I was a shooting guard, now I'm playing the 5. The disappointing aspect to this is that Batum would actually be the perfect Warrior player, and is also the exact type of player they've needed over recent years. Since losing Otto Porter Jr. in free agency after the 2022 championship, Golden State have lacked the combination of size, shooting, and defense in the front court. The frustrating element is that Batum has been a free agent multiple times over recent years, yet the Warriors have never been able to capitalize on bringing the Frenchman to the Bay. It's not through a lack of trying though, with numerous reports suggesting Golden State have had interest during the past. During the 2021 offseason, Anthony Slater of The Athletic reported that there is mutual interest between Batum and the Warriors, only for the veteran forward to sign with the Clippers. Golden State also had interest last offseason according to NBA insider Jake Fisher, yet Batum again signed with the Clippers. The 17-year veteran could theoretically be an option again this offseason if he opts out and becomes an unrestricted free agent, but all signs point to him picking up his $4.9 million player option to return to the Clippers. Batum averaged 17.5 minutes with the Clippers this season, averaging 4.0 points, 2.2 rebounds, and 1.1 assists while shooting a career-high 43.3% from three-point range. While it's unlikely Batum becomes an option, addressing the need for more size and shooting should be one of Golden State's top priorities heading into the offseason. Warriors Draymond Green reveals Kevin Durant trade was at finish line. The Warriors nearly got their hands on Suns star Kevin Durant at the trade deadline before acquiring Jimmy Butler. The Golden State Warriors made their big splash at the trade deadline this season, acquiring Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat to pair with Stephen Curry. The duo worked out very well and got the Warriors into the second round of the playoffs before a hamstring injury to Curry cut their title chase short. While the move to get Butler was a big one, Golden State was trying to make an even bigger splash before swinging a team for the disgruntled Miami star. The Warriors were trying to get a deal done to reunite with Kevin Durant, who won a pair of NBA championships with the franchise in 2017 and 2018. Durant ended up choosing to stay in Phoenix for the rest of the season and is now likely to be traded this offseason. On the Warriors' side, however, Draymond Green and company thought that the deal was very close to getting done according to Ben Stinar of Sports Illustrated. "I saw Joe, Lacob, and Joe gets excited, that's my guy," Green said, via Stinar. Joe goes, "Draymond, I think we're gonna get Kevin Durant, it's right there at the finish line, it's happening. We're getting Kevin Durant back. We talk about it, he's like, you think it'll work?" I'm like, absolutely. He comes running back to me like 2 minutes later. Draymond, I wasn't supposed to say anything. Don't say nothing to nobody. Klay Thompson isn't in the mix anymore, but the core of Curry, Green and Durant still would have been a very formidable one heading into the postseason. The injury to Curry would have derailed any version of the Warriors, but putting him and Durant back together would have struck fear into any opponent on the other side. Acquiring Durant would have likely cost the Warriors a little bit more than it did to get Butler, but the loss of someone like Jonathan Kuminga or Moses Moody would certainly have been worth the increased scoring on the wing that Durant would have provided. Now, the Warriors likely don't have enough assets to get Durant to the Bay this offseason when the Suns inevitably trade him,